Voyage 24, Galactic Command, 29 June, 21:55 Galactic Time, John B. Ross, Commander. Polonus 756A, Explorer Spaceship 14. Main link, GC Polonus Earth. Additional link, Mothership 11, Polonus 143. On 15 June, 21:55 GT, Articles of Peace were consummated between Galactic Command and the Antarian Sanctum. The articles, known as the Bilateral Withdrawal Treaty, were signed on Antari 6 by Command Council Admiral Gates and all the sitting council members. The treaty moves the boundaries of the Antarian Sanctum to half the pre-war area and creates a full war zone known as the Antarian Occupied Territory. No Antarian vessels will navigate within the occupied territory without prior permission, escort, and full representation of ship's orders and destination. All prior Antarian planets and outposts existing before the hostilities will be retained by Galactic Command. Monitoring of all Antarian weapons testing will be required. A listing of all commerce provided to Earth Polonus Link. Violations of the battlefield or monitoring requirements will be considered a full act of war and treated accordingly. The ensuing period of peace was proclaimed by Command Group Admiral Gates. In attendance from ESS 14 were Commander Ross, Commander Hugh Lindsay, and Lieutenant Commander Walter Kuczynski. Commander Ross was presented by Admiral Ebert with the solemn order of battle for the victory at the Marigold star system, forcing the Antarian fleet surrender. Commander Lindsay received citation by Admiral Ebert for the meritorious battle star. The Valor Commendation was bestowed upon Lieutenant Commander Kuczynski. A 5-day leave aboard the mothership was granted by Admiral Ebert to senior crew members. Commander Lindsay and myself have left ESS 14 for the mothership and downtime. Ross, commanding ESS 14. Chapter 1. He was on a continuous binge for 3 days and did not care who knew about it. After 4.5 years of battle, confined within his ship, fighting occasional battles on 23 planets, and under the constant threat of Antarian attack, John Ross, commander of Explorer Spaceship 14, wanted to push the limits of his physical and emotional stamina. In the murky blue light, he rapidly lost his concentration after the second Brumac. Months had passed since he had drunk so heavily and chased women like this. Still, he drifted back to last week's peace treaty ceremonies on the Antarians' home planet. The sole surviving city building's clear green windows reflected Antari 6's rugged mountain peaks and the looming crimson sun. Command engineers had constructed a long pavilion table amidst the rubble. The surrender tables were positioned in a parallel fashion under the blue glow of a newly constructed command sphere, designating the 506 aligned planets. Ross visualized the wispy, white-haired Antarian Surbacs in full dull silver uniform as they marched under heavy guard along the Formcrete. Missing was Serbian Rafik, killed in Ross's final attack at the Marigold star system. Every surviving Surbac must have felt the humiliation of surrendering on their home planet. Seated at the glossy black slab tables, their pale faces wrinkled as the treaty was read. Further compounding the humiliation was Command's decision not only to send the treaty signing across Galactic Command on frequency channels, but throughout the Sanctum. The Antarian feelings mattered very little with the war over. Ross realized he was now not trapped behind ESS 14's command consoles, but tucked away in a little pit bar in the mothership's belly. He had remembered this low-lit dungeon pit from a few years ago, when he and Chris Keller, commander of ESS 19, stumbled in here after one of the Antarian battles. It was as if the same blue haze still hung over the tightly packed bar. Lindy, holding the mugs high in the air, moved his large 240-pound frame through the crowd. Ross stood as his second-in-command finally made his way back to the small, round table. John, I swear you need a level 1 security clearance to pass through those idiots out there. I had my pocket picked 3 times, my ass pinched twice, and some barge freighter from Zosma tried to explain how she had some cosmic prevail dust for only 15 marquees. So what's the complaint, Lindy? Ross took the bright blue Brumac to his lips. Not bad for a mothership's beer, but not as rich as the stuff found on the open space trade routes before the war. I told you this place would be a good diversion for us. I can't believe it's actually over. No more fighting. Lindy smacked his lips. They've shipped in this Brumac. I was just thinking that, said Ross, looking around the loud, darkened pit. There are more women here than you want to know about. Half of them are loaded with transmuted ELO viruses. Just what I need. Lindy took in more Brumac. Spend a month in some medevac having my innards snipped by some genetic strand slicer. Ross nodded as he continued to scan the pit. He remembered the tall blonde he had met here with Keller, and how he had never seen her again. He was away from ESS 14 for 3 days back then, until his propulsion engineer, Frank Muldoon, and some third-rank personnel dragged him and Keller out of a docked pleasure ship before the ship left port. He smiled as he thought about the pleasure ship. What are you grinning about? Lindy also looked around the pit. I was just thinking to the last time I was back here on the mothership. Ross stroked his chin-beard stubble. I bet, said Lindy, and both men surveyed the bar. Where do you think they'll send us next, John? Ross raised his finger. He was looking at two young women with looped ring ears and raised hair, neatly woven like a fabric. What do you think of raised hair, Lindy? Lindy turned around. I'm not looking at the hair. Neither am I. The women were dressed in silver metallic shorts and were alone. Ross stood and started across the pit. On the prowl. There he goes. Full battle alert. He raised the mug to his lips again. Full battle alert. But as Ross began his move across the bar, two younger third ranks appeared, and the raised-haired ladies were escorted away. He turned and looked back at his dark-eyed friend. Que sera, sera. Ross returned to the table. I knew it was too good to be true. He held his Brumac. Where are we going? Where the hell is Everett sending ESS 14? Yeah, that was the question. Lindy, Galactic Command has 506 planets in 4 space sectors. There are 72 motherships, not to mention the outposts, the colony vessels, and the non-aligned planets, as well as the Antarian occupied territory. And you want me to tell you where Ebert is sending us? After 4 years of war, we'll be sent on a vacation. Map space. Visit the non-aligned planets we know little about. We deserve an assignment like that. Those Antarian bastards cost us too many lives. Ross lifted his Brumac into the air. May the Antarians never rise from the ashes. Nor even try. It all comes down to marquees, Lindy, said Ross, still searching the bar. The Antarians were broke. Everybody needs a benefactor. They'll be back as soon as the coffers are full. No matter what they might have said in the surrender ceremonies, I still don't trust them. John, they were beaten and beaten badly. Even if they were funded, how could they ever bother us again? Their whole planet is in ruins, fleet in shambles, and the settlements occupied. I have it on good authority that Gates wanted to put all their upper command on prison planets, but the group turned up the heat. Thought it might look bad with the non-aligned planets. Gates is the top dog. He heads the command group. Yeah, he's been renominated and elected by the group. But what do you think if he sent the Antarians away for good? Would he still be where he is? I hear you. He's just a puppet, John. If that's all you're saying. Yeah, he saved his own hide instead of doing the right thing. Now we may have to face it all over again. How many lives will be lost because of that decision? Ross looked over his shoulder, and in the blue light saw a short woman with silver hair walk into the bar. She was dressed formally in a green two-piece day suit, and she waved at Ross. That's Nancy Burke. Lindy turned. I knew I'd catch her here. She looks like hell. They stood as she approached the table, computer clipboard for writing in her hand. She had lost weight, and her skin had a pale, matted appearance. Well. I see the schooner sweeps have brought in space junk. Ross gently pecked his old friend on the cheek. Can't keep that viewer bender's clipboard away from you, can you? Asked Lindy as he shook her hand. Have I got a surprise for you, Space Rose? Ross pulled up a chair for her, but remained concerned about her frail appearance. How long has it been, Nancy? He leaned back and crossed his legs. Can I get you a Brumac? How are you feeling? Are you all right?
One question at a time, Commander. First answer. 15 months, right before you went out to encounter that Antarian who was starting his own little empire.
Oh yeah, Commander Zariak and his defiance of the Antarian Command. I thought we had him over on our side, but he headed for deep space. Deep space is not deep enough.
That's a story I'd like to bend. It's all wrapped up in a command intelligence file, said Nancy.
How'd you find out about Zariak? It was classified.
No comment. And to answer your second question, no. And I'm on a damned required diet from my doctor.
Anything serious? Asked Lindy.
Oh no, just the usual maladies of pushing 50.
Our dealings with Zariak, Ross moved closer to her. The Zariak affair is classified.
Word leaks out, Commander, now that you're this big battle hero.
Ross smiled. That's old news, Nancy, but I know you have political connections, big political connections.
Probably why I've been chosen to be on your next voyage.
What? A viewer bender on an Explorer spaceship? Something is off frequency with that image, no offense. Lindy laughed and lifted the Brumac to his lips. We don't even know where the hell we're going.
Something big is up, said Nancy.
Big? Ross laughed and looked at Lindy. She might be revealing command voyage orders. The war is finished, the battle's over, there is nothing big left, Nancy.
It's important enough for Admiral Gates to personally push me on this voyage.
Really? Now you pique my curiosity. We were just saying how easy things are going to be for us now. You sure you want to be on something big? Ross pointed at her, thinking someone had fed her a line about this being a big voyage. She thought for a moment, and her blue eyes brightened.
This is just what I need right now, to get away.
Nancy, if you have any knowledge of Voyage 19, our dealings with Commander Zariak, you should know that an Explorer spaceship can be a hazardous assignment.
I'm well aware of that, but I figure any man who could survive the Antarian War, and as many battles as you were both in, will survive whatever mission Gates orders you on.
Orders are orders, John, said Lindy with a big smile. He finished his Brumac and wrapped the mug on the wooden table. Yes, Commander, orders are orders, and I have yet to receive any orders.
You should be cataloging your career, John. People would be interested. All the planets you have seen before and during the war.
That's why we have frequency reports back to command. Ross was still not happy about a civilian being on ESS 14. Nancy smiled and held his hand briefly.
Maybe they'll send you in search of non-human intelligent life. With all the planets and settlements recorded, still no contact with the Anchals.
Ross studied her blue eyes as she spoke and was convinced she was hinting ESS 14's new orders involved checking for the Anchals. Any member of Galactic Command would have kept such information to himself. Even more than before, he doubted whether bringing a viewer bender on a voyage was a good idea. Lindy spoke in an official voice, the Brumac kicking in. You're referring to intelligent life, independently evolved?
Exactly. All the planets. So much independently evolved life abounding, but no Anchals.
Now, said Lindy, humanity spread out over this portion of the galaxy, and we diverged into such radically different societies. Even the Antarians are an evolved race within the human umbrella. The human umbrella, said Ross, grinning. You ought to use that in your bend, Nancy.
Why, is it just one independently evolved intelligent race?
Ross's face tightened, and he kept his distance. If you have command voyage information... She smiled, and both men stood with her.
Things will be changing sooner than you think, Ross, from Mark of 4. I'll see you both aboard ship.
Ross gently squeezed her icy hand and studied her tired eyes. As a friend, I would love to have you aboard. As a commander, I have to protest it.
This is a fait accompli,
she said.
Sorry.
Ross faced Lindy as she turned and moved slowly through the bar pit. I don't like this. You'll never get aboard, John. That's the viewer bender in her talking. When does command routinely allow civilians aboard an ESS vessel? Unless they're scientists or assigned personnel like Sebastian. Yeah, but Sebastian's an excellent cook. Ross watched Nancy disappear through the crowd and into the foggy shadows. He shook his head. I'm gonna fight this. You should be able to squelch it. A couple of blondes caught Ross's eye. Lindy looked in the same direction and smiled. Back on course to our primary mission here tonight. Full speed ahead, Lindy.